totally with it. She still lives by herself.
Right, Michelle?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to the December 18th edition of the Police Station Building Committee. We have a full quorum. Everybody's in attendance today. So this meeting is called to order. First on the agenda, we have the minutes from October 23rd, 2023. Any comments or discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I move we approve with the addition of October 23rd, adding the attendance.
Ah, good catch. Alex?
So you just need a second.
Thanks, Donna. Any other comments or concerns with the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from October 23rd, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Same item, but for November 20th, 2023.
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from November 20th, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you. And next we have our reports. Start with Neil from CMS. How are you, Neil?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
You do bills, Pat?
Oh, bills. Thank you very much. I'm off my game. The rain got to me.
You-
I'm late to the game, so I wasn't ready.
I gotta find that now. I know I've got it here somewhere. So we will do bills and warrants once I find that page. Okay. Thanks, Neil. We have Fontaine Brothers, $515,965. Colliers, $1,140. Strategic Spaces, $1,782.22. New Quality Fence, $9,120. And Sunshine Sign Company, $1,134.36, for a grand total of $529,141.58. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Make a motion, we pay?
We have a motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a motion and a second to approve the invoices as just read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. That is that. Now you're up, Neil.
Okay.
All right.
Circulated prior to the meeting was a budget update, which included the invoices just voted to be paid. So wanted to try to give everybody an idea of where we were spending-wise. So to date, $35,821,000 and change of the $37 million associated with the building. So we're over almost 97% complete on spending. And I will just offer for general consumption by the committee that working from the top of the page, the OPM services will be billed in full. The architectural and engineering services will likely be billed in full. The commissioning invoices, I think we're gonna be about $6,000 under budget on the commissioning services. The construction budget will largely be billed in full. We're still working out a few loose ends on those expenses. Project expenses will likely be returned in full to the town. So I'm targeting between 50 and 60,000 in that. FF&E, we're gonna return about 25,000 in savings from the 98,000 that's remaining. And then we're carrying about 300,000 in unspent owner's contingency. So when you total those up, it's in the range, somewhere in the range of $350,000 to $400,000 that will be returned to the town. And I am happy to take any questions regarding the budget or expenditures or any individual line items.
Neil, these expenses that are still, have yet to be billed, how does that fit in with the vision to, I mean, these seems like, some of these are gonna be big bills. How do we do that without having ongoing meetings?
So I think we're gonna address that later in the meeting, or
Yeah, I think it's agenda item
No, I understand that, but because I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with the memo you sent out regarding that, because you were talking about anything greater than $20,000. It sounds to me like there are gonna be bills coming in that are gonna be greater than $20,000 that would need the full committee's approval.
So, at least the intention is that anything that's within an existing contract value, the identified group of individuals would be able to authorize payment for those invoices. So anything that's within our original fee proposal, Matt's original fee proposal, within the contract balance for Fontaine, as well as FF&E or anything that's previously been voted by the committee and authorized to be spent would still be able to be spent and paid out by those,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
by agreement. if
Well,
you will.
we'll talk about this more
Yes.
on the agenda item. Any other questions for Matt? I mean, for Neil? No? Anything else, Neil?
I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Next up, we have Matt from Tech Town Architects.
Good evening. Very limited update. I've just a note on the punch list, which is continuing to be worked down. There's a handful of items remaining, a majority of which I would note are just ongoing change order work that's being wrapped up, and some warranty work that is being addressed as it pops up. Of the original punch list, there's about a dozen items remaining, half of which are relative to just ongoing landscaping work that'll be completed up in the spring. So pretty much just about wrapped up on that whole scope there, with just a handful of things that are being buttoned up as we go along. But other than that, nothing else to report to the committee this month.
Questions for Matt? Can I ask about the drainage?
Sure.
Yeah, again, it's raining today. Michelle pointed out when we came in, and I've heard some other talk that, there's still a lot of water out there. So what are we doing to alleviate that going forward?
So you're talking about at the Grove area
Yeah.
here in particular. So there was a proposed option for some mitigation of the ponding in that area. It was a pretty expensive undertaking because of the desire to maintain existing trees and things like that. One of the issues with that area and the area across the drive, obviously, is the desire was to preserve as many of the trees existing as possible, and as such, we really can't do anything with the grading. And if we were to add any supplemental drainage or anything like that, we could connect to the biobasin that's right there, which is performing really well. Actually, I just drove by it, and it was maybe that deep. So it was reviewed by Fuss and O'Neill, it could handle the capacity. In order to make a feasible connection between the two, we would have to lose several trees in order to do that.
My concern, if I may. sorry.
Sure.
My concern is that with that ponding, because it's not just we had, a significant amount of rain today, but 2 weeks ago we had rain that wasn't an unusual quantity that had come down, and it was similar ponding today. The ponding has reached almost to the sidewalk. And my concern is that if we have continued standing water there, if we have frozen ground in the winter, and then we have significant rainfall, that we'll end up actually losing those trees regardless, because they're not trees that are, meant to be in like swampy, wet conditions. So I have concern about losing those trees entirely because of the standing water. And there's one sort of large area of standing water, and then there's a tree closer to the driveway that has sort of a ring around it, 5 feet wide on each side, that is surrounded in its own little area. I think it needs to be addressed somehow. Do you have a sense of what that cost proposal was for the drainage
Do you remember?
to connect it to that biobasin?
Pat, if I may.
Keith?
We spoke last week with, I think it was on the project team meeting, or maybe it was with Kevin McGarry. They were also going to look at some potential French drainage type options out near the sidewalk. to allow the water to drain quicker.
Mhm.
It did drain in a few days. With, the last storm was 3 inches of rain, this one was 3.17, so it wasn't that much difference in rain, but I remember we did speak with Fuss and O'Neill last week about them looking at
Yeah.
another option too.
Yeah, and I would, it's, obviously, this is an unusual summer or year with the rain events. Ryan and I were just talking, part of the Mass Pike is underwater and shut down, which I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I would note that this is just extremely heavy rain events that we've been seeing this past year, and it's indicative of an El Nino weather cycle. So in a normal year, would it be like this? I doubt it, but yeah, we can certainly propose as, options to
Yeah.
mitigate as best as
If
possible.
we could do that, because I mean, this is kind of a 50-year project, so I'd rather do it now up front and get it right, so that we're not dealing with this 10 years from now, where maybe, the water's collecting and we're losing pavement, and we're losing sidewalks, and we're losing the whole Grove area. I mean, to me, it seems to make sense to fix it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes?
With the French drain, I'm assuming that would go under the walkway that's on the rear side of the Grove. It
Or
would-
both sides.
Yeah.
They looked at a few different locations.
Yeah. And would that, putting in a French drain system, would that impact trees? Or would we lose trees?
Well, I think that was what Kevin was looking at, was to do it in smaller areas so that it would just allow the water to drain faster down to the water table.
Yeah.
Donna?
What we see out there, it's exactly what we had to the left of it. If you're facing the town hall, to the left of where the water is pooling, that water would pool like that every year in March, at least March. Whenever there was a spring thaw, there would be water, and it would be that much. So my concern is, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I think originally engineering should have been able to address it. I'm not an engineer. Then we paid, the town paid, to have this drainage fixed, and it's still not fixed. So I think that it's an engineering issue, and I can't sit here and say, oh, I think French drains are a great idea. I have no idea. I just know that engineers should be able to figure out how to not have that water come. And yes, we have excessive rain right now, but that area is known to have pooling like that every year. So I need to have better answers to be comfortable with whatever we do going forward. And I don't see where the town is paying to fix it again.
Well, I would note that there was no additional cost or charges to repair or do any additional work in this part of the site. It was across the drive. And I think that has significantly improved. Stormwater calculations and analysis are done based on standards set by the state of Massachusetts and are then reviewed by the town's engineering department, all of which met those standards and was approved. So I understand that there is an issue with the drainage out there, and we can come up with solutions to further address it, but there was nothing in any engineering that would have told us otherwise.
I need to be able to be satisfied in my brain that is far from engineering, okay? I just need to be able to understand it and be satisfied with what's happening, and just with what we see, it's gonna continue to happen, whether it's because we get 3 inches today or because it's a spring thaw, that's going to happen. It's just moved down the street a little bit. But it's the same water that we saw all the time, because when I first came to this committee, I talked about it. When I talked about wanting a better fence along the side, it was all in that conversation. And I just think that this committee can't stop until that's taken care of.
I would just like to see what the options are and see what can be done to it, because obviously, again, this is this year. We don't know what next year is gonna look like. We don't know what 10-year or 20 years is gonna look like. So I think it needs to be addressed now in some form or fashion.
Pat, can I?
Sure, Kevin.
So I don't disagree with anything that Donna, you're saying, or we're trying to address the issue, but I think my initial question to the design team is, we all knew the water was there, right? Like, that's this site. Were we trying to develop a solution that mitigated the water that we all knew was there, or did we just move in a path to create the park or that area without addressing it? And it's an honest question, right? Like, so if we didn't try to mitigate the water that we all knew was there, then if we want to address it now, we need to address it now. But if it was something that we tried to address in the past and it wasn't successful, then that's a different route, right? I don't love looking out the window and seeing it, right? It did go away really quick last week. I think the one tree that's out there that Ms. Conlon addressed that has the 5-foot ring around it, like, I don't know how that one survives at all. So it's just, like, no one's surprised by the water being there, and did we try to address it or not, I think is kind of the first, and it doesn't have to, you don't have to answer it now, it's just, where are we, what were we trying to do? Because if we didn't try to do anything, like, we all knew the water was there, so.
Yeah, I don't have a direct answer for that, other than there was a desire to limit to the greatest extent possible the removal of any trees.
Right, no,
that
I
were
agree with
viable
that,
survive.
yep.
So, without doing any removal of a number of trees, which would allow us to do excessive regrading in the area and things
Yep.
like that, there really isn't too much we can do. So there was no real mitigation strategy in that part of the
Right.
site.
Okay.
And I understand that before this was a grove area, that was unusable land. So if water was building up in there, nobody cared, I guess, because nobody was walking through there, nobody was using it, nobody was running, looking at it really. So if we have a problem now, that's fine. It really doesn't matter whether we were trying to mitigate it or not. We now know we have a problem, so let's see if we can fix it. I guess that's my point.
I guess part of it too is beyond what it was originally designed to, from where we started with the digital sign as originally shown would have been on the east side of the front entrance of the police station. That moved obviously closer to the memorial.
Right.
And that whole area was filled in from where it is now, right at that corner. It was probably 5 feet down, and we were able to, save the project in total money where we didn't have areas to put excess soil to build the last of those ponds in that area, graded out nicer, because it was a pretty steep drop off the back edge of
Right.
that stone wall there. So it hasn't been, I don't know if a fully engineered area is the right term for it, but it's kind of been a moving process throughout the whole construction of that area post demo of the building to try to keep the grove image.
Right.
And not have a grove of,
Yeah.
whatever 5-gallon caliper trees.
I totally get that.
So
Problem is, we now have the grove area, where I think everybody wants to keep it, everybody likes it. Now we gotta make it right, that's all. And I'm not saying that there's any blame for it not being right now. I don't know that anybody's at fault here. It's just the situation that we're in, so how do we fix it?
Right, if I may. Sure. I mean, I would also just like to know, will we lose, like, is there a way that we can work with an arborist or someone and get someone out? Like, will we lose the trees, right? Like, part of the new normal and climate change is, there has to be areas that have high water and flood occasionally. If it goes away within acceptable means and we're not going to lose the trees, then maybe we all have to live with, heavy rains 2 or 3 days that it's not accessible, but it's natural, right? So I'd like to understand that
The
as
new
well
natural.
before. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Donna?
I'd like to say, not pointing fingers, and all I care is, I feel you can't leave it even for 3 days, you just need to fix it, because you're damaging all the picnic tables, because it's up around the picnic tables. If it keeps up, we're gonna need lifeguards out there. So I just think, we just need to know from the pros, how do you fix it, and how fast can it get done?
And what does it cost? Yeah.
How much it costs.
Yeah. Anybody else?
May I ask,
Sure,
what are the,
Michelle.
do we know what the species of trees are out there? I think they're red maples and oaks, is that right?
We should have that on the tree survey that the arborist had provided.
Right, because I know there are some like silver maples and there are some trees that do better in wetter conditions, and some that don't, so.
I would not being a tree expert or landscape architect or any of those things, if this was an ongoing problem in the past and they've survived,
Yeah,
you know,
right, they're
going
fully
forward,
mature
I would-
trees, yeah. Yeah, it would be, it would be a loss to lose those trees for sure.
We have them all in,
I'm imagining a giant sinkhole in 20 years.
Ask, what is, given what it is, what are the first steps to do to evaluate this, to get some idea of the cost and the solution? What's the first thing to do?
Well, I think the first thing is going to be working with the civil engineer to analyze pathways to either pipe to the biobasins that's there, provide the French drain system. We've looked at the possibility of setting dry wells in the area, but because of the high water table, they really wouldn't be effective. So there's just not enough. There's a very dense, fine, silty soil that's comprised of that doesn't drain very well. With a water table that's within a couple of feet of the ground, there's not a lot of area to sort of suck that water up. It's a sponge sitting on top of a swimming pool, so to speak. So
So do you think a French drain would even work? Do you think that could be an
it,
option?
I don't know I wasn't part of that conversation. I know Kevin McGarry was here on site last week to look at those options. So I don't know if that was to allow a drainage path to get the water out to the street and get it away from the Grove area, or if it was to allow it to percolate with a little bit more open structure to the soil with the gravel. But, I'll certainly work with them to come up with some additional solutions. I don't know if I don't think there's a silver bullet to sort of take it out. I think it's gonna be several smaller strategies, hopefully, and then maybe piping down to the biobasin, but.
and most of those trees are oaks and red oaks and maples.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Open a can of worms there, kind of, but something, since it rained so much that it was topic of conversation.
Yep.
It would be there sometime over this winter if it wasn't now, and with the rain, it would be there. at
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
I mean, I'd just like to look and see what
I
the
just want to
possible
see it get
solutions
fixed,
are. Yeah,
that's all.
absolutely. Anything else from Matt? No? Okay, thanks. Next up, we have Ryan. with his update.
Yeah, so as Matt and Neil have mentioned, we've been working through punch list items in the last month. Just kind of giving the group an update on the bollard ad that was discussed with the not to exceed last month. I've purchased the bollards. They're in production. I'm expecting them to get here the middle to end of February. So now I'm just working with Amarillo and some other vendors to get the areas prepped as much as possible. So that way, when they get delivered, we're just sliding the bollards right over the top of the pipes that are set in the sidewalk. So that's ongoing, as well as at the same time trying to work to get dry wells in the biobasins so we can work on pumping those down. So once the weather turns on us in the spring, we can get the biobasin plantings in there and get that last portion of work done. Other than that, we're wrapping up the last of our punch list items and trying to get everything else within the building all squared away and working through the last of any of the chief and the rest of his staff's concerns. So making good headway and just plugging along with it.
Questions for Ryan?
Just one.
Sure, John.
The roof leaks are all fixed. We've had especially with this last couple of rains we've had.
Yes,
Or any
so-
indication
We've reduced them. One of them remains still, and it's related to with the blown rain that we've had recently. With some water's getting in through one of the rooftop units. So we've had last week the vendor from that owns that rooftop unit was out there adding gasketing and different things. There was still some water getting in today, so they'll be back later this week to address that some more. So with the leak, sometimes it's finding the right person to see it. It took my roofer you know, two experienced mechanics, you know, been doing it as long as I've been alive, you know, several trips out to find the leaks, and, you know, it's, again, it's a big black roof, and it doesn't take a large hole to get a lot of water into the building. So we've been addressing it. Any damage that's occurred, we're taking care of it, replacing ceiling tiles, making sure the wall's dry, all of that sort of stuff. So it's an unfortunate part of the process of
Yeah, understandable.
a new building.
Okay. Anything else for Ryan? Okay. Oh, Donna.
The furniture issues that I see in the weekly reports, is that all taken care of? Like, it just seems like it's ongoing.
Furniture wouldn't be me, but there's something specific I could.
The cabinets, the toilet room storage, the office furniture, the printer cabinet, those types of things. They seem like they're not really complicated. Is there a problem, or is that,
So I believe that was all FF&E change order work that has been going on over the past couple of months. So I think just between getting the units here, getting the right racketry and everything, I think it's, from my understanding, talking with Roger and Matt on it, it's kind of now that with that FF&E furniture, not having a whole crew of workers here to install it all at once, you kind of get in parts and pieces split up between people, which should be a simple task. Everything gets more complicated after the fact. So when I was here on Saturday with Steve doing some painting, we walked around and it didn't appear that there was any more furniture sitting out in the garage that needed to be installed. So I think we've gotten past all of that work, unless I'm speaking out of turn
Nope.
on that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all change work that's trickled in to the committee, and then 8 to 10 weeks later, showing up on site and getting it done. Two of the items that are on there are change orders for approval for tonight, so those are still, 2 months out from being installed, so it's just an ongoing process as the department lives within the space and realizes they need something.
but there's no problem? That's all.
No, I think the only issue there was with furniture was there was a piece that was damaged by a leak, but it's been replaced and resolved.
Good.
I think one of the things was that this Tecton thing was dated on the 30th, and today's the 18th, so a lot of these things have been taken care of in the last couple of weeks. I believe that's
Yeah.
part of it.
You good?
Good.
All right, okay. Thank you. All right, that brings us to change orders as we speak. So we have change order 004A for furniture contract A. Ryan?
Nope, that's all me.
Okay.
Yep, so, just, there's two, remind me which one A was.
Strategic, I think.
Looks like the file cabinet top panels.
Yeah, so these are just, in the evidence storage room, there's two file cabinets. A while back, we had approved a change order to add a top to those file cabinets. We mistakenly ordered, individual tops for them. I'm sorry, we initially ordered a spanner top for them so that they could both be combined back to back. The desire of the department was that they would be two individual file cabinets with two individual tops. So this change order is to buy the correct tops. A company that you'll also see, there's another item on the agenda for a contract amendment, so I'm gonna credit back the cost of that, because that was a blatant error on my part, so we'll be swapping that cost with the town, so it'll come out of our fee. I don't have a contract with the furniture vendor, so I can't pay them directly.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay. Any questions around that? Okay, can we have a motion regarding change order 004A?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve change order 004A for furniture contract A, and it looks like the total on that is $519.26. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. And now we're on to change order 004B, furniture contract B.
So this is for the sergeant's office, chief, I believe?
Furniture team.
Yeah, so
Which one's that?
the printer cabinet?
table.
Oh, the printer table, yes. Yeah, the
So-
sergeant's office.
Yeah, there was a need for a printer table, some storage. So this is part of the same lines that the rest of the furniture for the department utilize. And it's for $1,029.31.
So this is not a return, this is a new item.
Yep.
So this is coming out of the,
Surplus furniture budget.
Okay,
It's within the line item.
okay, all right, very
Hey,
good.
Pat, if I may, that was just an oversight on our part.
You know, that's fine, I just wanted to know what part of the budget that was in. That's all, I wasn't worried, not too concerned about that one. Any questions around
Make a
the printer
motion.
cabinet?
Move we approve?
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
A second?
We have a motion and a second to approve change order 004B for furniture contract B. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. And item B under other business, review and approve contract amendment from Tecton Architects.
So this is the credit of $519.26.
Okay. Questions around that? Okay, motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract amendment for Tecton Architects totaling $519.26. All those in favor?
That's just,
Aye.
Aye.
that's a credit.
Credit.
I'm sorry, credit.
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 A credit
A deduct, yes.
on the contract amendment for Tecton
For the record,
Architects.
yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously.
Sorry.
And now, possibly the elephant in the room.
Here, go to-
Review and act to designate a member or members to approve all bills, drafts, orders, and payrolls pursuant to MGL Chapter 41, Section 56. So this gets back to, do we need any more meetings? So now we have a different item on the table going forward with the drainage. Donna?
I think what Neil, wasn't it Neil wrote a very good explanation to us about what seems to be happening going forward. What I'd like to see is that once we know what's happening with the drainage out front, that we either meet or have a method of communicating that information to the committee, but even if we meet like in 2 or 3 months as opposed to having to meet monthly, there may be a time where we need to do more cleanup. And I'm not sure we should just shut this off totally.
Okay.
Kevin?
So, yeah, so the intention behind this process is that you will have to meet again at least once because the full committee needs to ratify all expenditures for the project. So it would alleviate the need for us to meet monthly, given the very routine, except for drainage maybe, items that are left, like we're just executing. And then, no matter what, the 3 individuals designated, if that's the path that we take, can't have ultimate authority. Sure, it is a ratification, sure, the horse will be out of the barn and the money's is gone, but the committee would have to get back together, and it's honestly, to prevent even more very routine meetings. We don't need to meet every month just to show up to approve bills, but we need to approve bills every month because people like to get paid, so. We're just at that spot, right? Like, I know it's not a school project, but if this was a school project, we'd be through a full year of school and well into summer break, right? Since the building's opened. It's kind of time to land the plane and
Sure.
be done with the project and.
No, and I feel much more comfortable with that after Neil explained that everything was within our contract already, so I'm okay with that. And I like the fact that we have to come back, and which I didn't know, and do a final approval on everything. If we need a meeting, I'm assuming everybody would be generally available if we needed a meeting on the drainage.
And that's when John can bring the cookies too.
That's right.
I won't forget.
I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Anybody have a problem? Unless you like meeting every month? No?
I just think that there'll be more to close, which,
I agree.
other than that, I don't think we need to meet monthly.
Okay.
If something big comes up, then we have to call a meeting.
I agree.
Yeah, I think, feel like there's three major, items remaining to be completed on here, and I think with the addition of an acceptable drainage solution, I trust the three designees to,
Right, and it looks like on these final three, we've already approved the monies on those.
Yeah,
That's all spent, right? Or in the process? The bollards, we approved, not to exceed.
Right.
But you,
the epoxy.
Well, it's,
the cost was approved, but you haven't approved the invoice.
Okay,
Yes.
but that'll be under $20,000 anyway.
See,
Right.
that was not to exceed of
Yeah.
15.
Yeah,
I believe,
that'll be
which
under 20.
on-
Is that
So-
supposed to cost us, chief?
What's that?
Is that supposed to cost us the epoxy for the garage floor?
We're talking,
I don't think.
Am I talking about something different?
Yeah,
No,
that is
Bollards.
gonna
We're
come
talking
up.
about the bollards. We're talking about.
Oh,
talking
we're
about
back
the
on
bollards,
bollards,
yeah.
okay.
So, just for clarification, so anything that comes in that has either been accepted through a change order or the base contract, would just be invoiced, and that's what we'd be approving, and
Right.
then if any further change orders or anything like that would have to come back.
Exactly, yeah.
So then, how would we anticipate hearing about the drainage?
I mean, we may be back next month about the drainage, if that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think we need to address that issue that would be addressed by the full committee.
Okay.
Yes.
Regardless.
Definitely.
I think feasibly, not to jump in, I don't think a meeting next month is probably gonna need to happen, just based on the holidays that are coming up and then the time it's gonna take to, get a solution that we think's gonna work with everyone.
Right.
And feasibly when that work will be done.
Which will be springtime.
This will be springtime work.
so-
Yeah, that's what I'm into.
Yeah, I don't think a January meeting is really something that anybody needs to have in their mind at this point, and it would probably be a February or maybe March, because then it's just a bang bang approve and then
Yep.
go. And
That's when the water will be back.
That's right.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like we need a motion.
So I move that we approve to designate the chair, the chief, and the town manager as our designees to act on anything less significant than, was it $10,000?
$20,000.
$20,000.
Second?
Okay,
Can I just make sure, and pay all invoices?
And pay off.
I'm gonna read it that way. So we have a motion and a second to designate Patrick Pitney, Police Station Building Committee Chair, Kevin Anderson, Chief of Police, and Kevin Mizikar, Town Managers, as the members to approve all bills, drafts, orders, and payrolls pursuant to MGL Chapter 41, Section 56. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Should we review the meeting schedule or no?
So, fully understand, we will have at least one more meeting.
We will have
to-
at least
Minimum.
one more meeting,
Okay,
yes.
to ratify.
Yes, and with cookies, from what I understand.
He didn't say where he was getting them.
Can we put in special requests?
All right, anybody have anything else? I'd like to thank everybody for all their hard work. I know we're gonna be meeting again, but not for a while. It's been a pleasure working with everybody. I've learned so much from all of you, and I just thank you for your due diligence.
Thank you.
All right?
Happy holidays,
Happy
Can I
everyone.
just add, having been on another building committee, this was an incredible group compared to my past experience with building committees in town. This one, you guys were great.
Thank you.
Nice to hear. Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank everybody. Happy holidays.